All right, Oval fans. So Priscilla apparently woke up this morning mourning the death of her marriage to Sam. Now, I've seen a variety of thoughts and opinions on Priscilla, and I stand by what I said in my episode review. If the episode would have cut off as soon as she walked out of the kitchen, leaving Sam behind, that would have been a perfect episode to me. And yes, it's fair. A lot of people are saying, particularly the Victoria scene, it was longer than it needed to be. It was repetitive. For once, I didn't mind it because I feel like it set the stage. I feel like it set the stage for her ultimate, or I guess you could say the benediction, if you will, to their marriage. And there are people who say, man, Priscilla's all talk. I like Lily better. Lily really gave it to Victoria in season 1. And honestly, that's when I remember really liking the Lily character. That was like the first scene I really was like, okay, this is great. Because up until that point in season 1, I was not a fan of the Bobby, Kyle, Donald, Lily storyline until that point in the story. Now, for me personally, I don't even know what to title this video, like, will Priscilla really go through with the divorce or what? I've always been on the side, and to be honest, I'm still on that side of, I like how Tyler has written this storyline, because even though Sam was in the wrong, you kind of see why he did what he did. Now, there are a lot of people saying it's a damn shame Priscilla's doing this, the fact that she's accusing Sam, and she should have gotten over that thing in the past. Keep in mind that Priscilla was in college, Sam was in the military. She said, I'm not a 20-year-old girl anymore. So basically, this is when, they're in their early 20s. She was at college, he was in the military, or, basically a soldier, and at that time had fallen for an Anita Parker. And Priscilla was upset, crying and everything. Everybody saying she was a fool to wait for Sam. Apparently there was a good dude for her named Daryl that she let slip by, because eventually when Anita was done with Sam, he came crawling back to her, and he promised that he would never do that again, essentially cheat on her. And then eventually they got married. So he cheated while they were in a relationship, but not when they were married. So technically speaking, he did not have an affair after they said I do. So up until this point, apparently Sam had been doing good. No cheating whatsoever. And thanks for pointing it out for me. Some people were saying in my review comments that, Jeremy, she didn't say she didn't have sex with him for a year. She said, I don't give a damn if it had been a year. You have to, if it was medical or if I was just tired, you should have waited and been an honorable man. Okay. So I guess apparently it has been only a couple months or so since they had sex. I believe Sam actually gave the exact amount of time in season 1. I forgot, my bad. But in my review, I did say I did rewatch the scene a couple times. I think she said it was a year, but when reading the comments and watching the scene again, because the Oval Facebook page put up the 4-minute clip. So yeah, she said, I don't care if it was a year. So I guess it really was about a couple months since they had sex. You should have waited. It was the honorable thing to do. So in reality, the reason that Priscilla's done is the fact that I'm not a 20-year-old girl sitting around crying anymore. I'm a strong, self-confident woman. I'm not having it. So basically, yeah, this is the benediction on their marriage. I can understand that, but I can't say I'm fully on Priscilla's side, because I look at this from, and I'm not trying to, make this like a therapy session for me, but I look at it from the perspective of, I know for me personally, if I were to ever get married and my wife cheated on me, I feel like I would be like Aaron on Sisters. I'm like, you know what, that's it. And I'm like, no, I'm done. That's it. I'm divorcing. I mean, for me personally, I look at marriage as something holy and something that is, very special. And if I get married, it's a one and done. But there are a couple caveats of, if I were to ever get divorced, this would be the reason why. Mainly, cheating would be like number 1 on the list. However, as I've gotten older, I've realized that sometimes I jump the gun. I think now the best example would be, blocking people on social media. Like, there have been times where I'm one of those people that keeps my emotions on the inside, and if something occurs, I'm slow to anger, but like that, if I cut you off, I'm done. So for me, there have been times where I block people on social media, and it's like, maybe blocking was a bit too harsh, but at the same time, it's like, in those scenarios, I understood I wasn't getting anywhere with the person, and it's not necessarily, oh, these are crushes. Sometimes they're friends. Look, after 2020 and whatnot, trust me, there have been people blocked for good reason. But, not to get too political or too realistic here, you know how Jennifer Aniston said that in a recent interview that she has cut off certain friends who refuse to get vaccinated or even say if they're vaccinated or not. I think that's kind of petty. But at the same time, between politics, Black Lives Matter, George Floyd, the election and all that stuff, there are a lot of people I had to either block or unfollow because it was just ridiculous what they were posting. But sometimes when I look back in some of those scenarios where I've cut off people completely, and I'm like, you know what? They didn't know what I was thinking, because I'm a person that keeps my emotions on the inside and I just up and disappear and vanish. So maybe if I would have communicated what I was feeling at the time, of maybe I didn't tell them, hey, what you said or what you did didn't rub me the right way. Instead, I just cut them off. I admit there have been times where I've done that and I look back and it's like, you know what? I was kind of in the wrong for how I handled the situation. Instead of just, unfriending, blocking, or just deleting their number, maybe I should have said my side instead of, just taking what they said or did without them knowing how it affected me. And as a result, man, I may have lost a good friend or a potential girlfriend. But, in some cases, it's just been so long, there's no need of going back. So in the Priscilla situation, here's what I'm talking about. It's been too long for, I feel like Priscilla's sin in this. And like I said before, I'm not condoning I'm not approving of what Sam did or saying it was right for him to cheat. But I have to say Priscilla isn't a saint in this because of the fact that she didn't cheat. I'm not saying that Priscilla did anything that went against their promise or vows to each other. My thing is, I don't think Priscilla did well in the communication, because all she could say is, Sam, you're selfish. Sam, you're this. Sam, you're that. When the man was begging for just a night of intimacy with his wife. And if you go back to season 1, Priscilla, oh, I'm tired, I'm this, I'm that. And she would go far and beyond the call of duty, if you will, for her co-workers, for Nancy, all of her other friends. She would be concerned about Jean. She would be concerned about, what's going on with this person, that person. But she wasn't taking care of her man at home. And I'm not in Jeremy, like, that's so sexist. It's like, basically, you were just telling Priscilla to spread her legs open. No, the sex aside, which is obviously what Sam wanted and needed, I don't think that Priscilla was doing her wifely duties in regards to checking in with her spouse. Like I said, to me, it isn't really even about the sex. Obviously, that's what Sam wanted and needed, but I just feel like Priscilla wasn't really taking care of her man. She was so busy and concerned taking care of everybody else's problems. You notice that she never, anytime like Nancy or somebody tries to ask Priscilla, how are you doing? What's wrong? I feel like something's off. She doesn't want to, no, I don't want to talk about that. I want to talk about you. And I just feel like Priscilla, in a sense, kind of did this to herself. In a way. Again, I know this might sound like it feels like I'm kind of contradicting myself. But I just feel like Priscilla, if she took a moment to reflect, like, it kind of reminded me of Veronica from The Haves and the Have-Nots, where she was she was rightfully calling out Maggie for wanting David, and then it got to the point where she was accusing David of cheating after she saw them coming out of his room at the Sarandon Hotel when they were literally just talking. And ever since then, David, you're a cheater, you're having an affair with that whore, yada, yada, yada. Even in the one episode where he did go to her hotel room and she was kissing on him, he couldn't go through with it. So that reminded me of when, Priscilla caught Sam with a hard-on after he came out of the presidential suite. And as a result, he just was accused of being a cheater, even though he didn't have sex with Victoria. I'm not saying that there's a caveat, well, she went down on him, but it's like, well, the reason he had a hard on is because, well, you didn't really take care of it when you were supposed to. And, you know, the first lady called him up in her night attire. So, well, there you go. So I'm just saying that, well, and I've said this in my reviews ever since that moment. A man will only take no from a woman so many times before he goes to a woman who's going to tell him yes. And I feel like, honestly, if Priscilla did what she was, well, requested to do by her husband multiple times, then perhaps he would have been able to fight off Victoria's temptation even more. Again, I'm not condoning what Sam did, but I feel like Priscilla could have definitely alleviated his hormones so he could actually do his job better at work. So I'm just feeling like Priscilla, I feel like she's jumping the gun. She's not really giving Sam the benefit of the doubt. Well, mainly in regards to the first instance when he had the hard on, not after the look. He was fucking Victoria in the yellow room. So after that, I can definitely see why, you know what, I'm done. But before that, I feel like Priscilla is neglecting her role in this. That's my thought process. So I think the biggest detriment here is the fact that Diane gave her that huge package to give to Sam if anything were to happen to her. I believe it's like, Priscilla, if you don't hear from me from 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, give this to Sam. So Priscilla's allowing this whole personal, emotional thing to get in her way. And because of that, a lot of shit's going to go down, which could be handled if that package was given to Sam. Same thing with Richard. If Richard had talked to Sam instead of just having Dale and Sharon come to the White House about the Rakadushi, then perhaps they could have worked together to get Barry, but instead he's going to the compound and going to get into a bad accident when the Raku wreck his truck. So I feel like Sam is public enemy number one. Well, honestly, I can see why Richard doesn't want to have anything to do with Sam. You know, he accused him of having an affair with Nancy, but that wasn't the case, thankfully. But he literally was beaten down by Sam because he was in his feelings. So I feel like a lot of these scenarios in this show could be settled if people just have a conversation. But that's a staple of soap operas and dramas. Look at the haves and have-nots. That's one of many shows with that example. But thanks so much for tuning in. Let me know your thoughts. Do you think Priscilla is jumping the gun on the divorce? Do you think she played a role in Sam's affair? Do you think she'll ever contact Sam with the information Diane gave her? I feel like because of the situation with Sam, Priscilla's going to give that information to the wrong person and as a result get herself killed. Because remember, she looked at the cameras, was asking about, wait, do those cameras say who go in and out of the rooms? Because that was in reference to Miss Laura's room, and if she gets the camera information, she'll know Kyle was the one to kill Laura. But with that being said, that's all I have to say about this particular subject. I don't hate Priscilla, I just don't like the direction they're going with her this season, but her actress is doing an amazing job, I will say that. How do you think she'll get revenge against the First Lady? Like I said, if she gives that file folder over to the right people, Sam, then they can bring down the entire administration, including the First Lady. But I don't know. Personal vendettas are definitely getting in the way of these people making the right moves. But thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll talk to you all in the next video.